Hi folks, welcome to the next workshop. In this workshop we're going to talk about expanding your jazz chops. So what does that mean in the world of jazz? What we're going to do is basically learn how to mix some styles with traditional styles. This is what happened during the Latin jazz era, and basically what they did was take all the traditional grooves and of course put them on the drum set, but also put jazz concepts on top of them. So jazz concepts, mostly improvisation, okay? In a salsa group, there's not usually a whole lot of room to deviate constantly from the pattern and add, things that you might get away with in jazz, okay? So it's a little more structured, so I just want to go over how to do that exactly. What you have to remember is the vocabulary of jazz, also for a soloist, can be different. So especially with 3-bar cycle work. All the great saxophonists, trumpet players, all the great pianists, they use the 3-bar cycle constantly. So it's something that you're going to have to learn how it functions in Latin jazz. In this case, let's talk about Afro-Cuban jazz for a moment. So let's take a real basic pattern. Let's take a basic pattern. It's going to be the cascara pattern, but usually, in Latin jazz, it's played on the ride. I mean, you can play it on the shell like in traditional music, but most of the time, guys are going for the ride. So, as I mentioned in the workshop in the magazine, there's tons of independence that goes along with this. I don't think you need to do every single permutation and variation independence-wise to get this going, because in the world of jazz, nobody cares if you're keeping the cascara pattern and are able to play all kinds of crazy stuff around it. The most important thing for most players is your musicality, okay? So again, musicality means playing within the structure, dynamically, resolution points, okay? Resolution points, a huge issue. So what do? Let's just have a listen to my group featuring Bill O'Connell and Lincoln Goins, and that'll give you an idea of how to interact with musicians. Okay, so as you can see, it's a much looser approach. What I find is if you play too many patterns, too much patterns, like in jazz, it doesn't let the music flow. You kind of have to break it up. It's the same thing like with straight ahead. If you play ding-a-ding, ding-a-ding, ding-a-ding the whole time, you know, it kind of bogs the music down. You don't want to really do that. So it's better, at least in my humble opinion, and from what I've seen some of the greatest players around, is if you break stuff up, do a lot of rhythmic phrasing, interaction, call and response, even within the kit itself, so that the soloist has something to interact with. As I mentioned in the workshop again, you don't really want to chase the soloist. Don't repeat every single phrase that they're doing. You're better off like using your musical abilities, especially structural abilities, to create tension and release and when you're backing up a soloist. When the moment arrives and you both lock in on a certain phrase, or he really wants you to support a certain phrase that he's trying to push, to create something, so some kind of tension, then you can latch onto it. Or if it happens spontaneously, you know, somewhere in the tune, you're listening to each other and you're improvising, and there's a certain phrase that catches both your ears, and then you support that, then that's the way to go. So don't feel like you have to stick to the pattern the whole time. You know, I guess that's my main point. Sticking to the pattern, like I said, can bog the music down. Okay? If you're in a trio, especially quartet, quintet. Now, if you're with another percussionist or two, then you have to be more careful. Then you have to play your part in the percussion section and, you know, give room to all the other percussionists. So, as you may have noticed, there's a lot of rhythmic interplay going on there. Okay, a lot of 2/3, 3-bar cycle, basically. Okay, you can use all kinds of stuff, groups of 5, groups of 7, 9. I didn't use too much of that just now in the simple explanation because I didn't want to get too crazy. But there's a whole world of things that you can do. You can get away with anything if it's in the appropriate musical moment. It's really wonderful to play this way. So the challenge is to use all your jazz, newly acquired jazz chops and abilities and put them into other genres. So with the challenge with that is going to be, of course, maintaining some kind of authenticity within all those styles. As you can see from these examples that I gave you, you know, I've researched quite a bit in those styles, and I try to keep a little bit of authenticity in there, but not so much that that's not jazz. It's, you know, I don't want to be pure Brazilian. I don't want to be pure chacarera. You know, I want it to be jazzy. So it's a fine line you got to walk between mixing the traditional with the jazz. All right. So one thing you might want to be aware of is that in jazz, it's probably a little different feel. You know, the sound you get off the drums. It's a different feeling, maybe a little lighter. You know, depends on the situation. It's not as heavy-handed as like in a salsa group or whatever traditional kind of a ensemble you're playing in. You know, you just have a slightly different feel coming out of the drums. Not as heavy-handed, perhaps. Just something to consider. Also, you got to be real careful when you're mixing these rhythms, because sometimes the artists that you might be playing with aren't used to hearing the real authentic rhythms combined with jazz. So, you know, you got to use your ear, and you got to, like, ask. Don't be afraid to ask, you know, is this too much? Is this too little? Because some guys are just not used to playing in different styles. You might know a whole bunch of different styles, but the artist you're backing up may not, and it may throw them off. So, you know, use your discretion as far as how authentic you want to get and how much jazz you want to mix in there. You got to check that out. The cumbia. The cumbia is a super popular rhythm from Central and South America. I mean, really, really, really popular. You don't hear it that much in jazz, but you do hear it more in South America and mixed into different styles. So I think for the long term, you know, it's something maybe good, and it's something real different that you can apply to jazz. And it has a real nice, open, kind of loose feel to it when you play it jazzy. So let's just check that out for a moment. So I hope you enjoyed that. I've got lots of music for you to listen to from my latest project with Bill and Lincoln, and I think that'll give you some more fantastic examples. Okay, see you in the next workshop.